You've been there, right? Sitting through a data presentation that's just flat. The numbers are all there, the logic seems solid, but it just doesn't land. So what's going on? Why does perfectly good data so often fail to make an impact? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. This story is probably painfully familiar to a lot of us. You've got a presenter who does everything by the book. The data is clean, the ROI is crystal clear, but what's the result? Indecision. We need more time. It's the classic case of a perfect presentation that just fails to persuade, while someone with a better story, even with weaker data, walks away with the win. And believe me, this isn't some small niche problem. The gap between just showing data and actually driving a decision has a mind-blowing cost. We're talking an estimated $1.4 trillion. That's the price companies pay for presenting information in a way the human brain just isn't built to process. Getting this right isn't just a nice skill to have, it's a massive opportunity. Okay, so this brings us to the big question, the core of this whole explainer. If the data is correct, if the logic is sound, and the conclusion seems obvious, why isn't that enough? What is actually happening inside our heads that makes us hesitate or even reject pure, raw information? To answer that, we have to look under the hood. We've got to get into the neuroscience. See, the problem usually isn't with your data. It's with the brain of the person you're presenting it to.
Think of it like this. Our heads are running two different operating systems at the same time. You've got the rational brain, which loves your spreadsheets, your charts, your raw data, but then you've got the emotional brain. It's the one that deals in stories, in context, in feelings. And here's the kicker. It's the one that actually makes the decisions. If you're only speaking to the rational brain, you're talking to the analyst, not the CEO.
And look, this isn't just a nice theory, this is proven science. The work by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio is absolutely fascinating. He studied people who, because of a brain injury, had their emotional centers basically switched off, but their logic was perfectly intact. The result? They couldn't make even the simplest decisions, like what to eat for lunch. This proves that emotion isn't a bug in our system, it's a critical feature for taking action. And that's where data storytelling comes in. It's the bridge, it's the tool that lets you translate your logical data into a language that the emotional decision-making brain can actually understand and get excited about. And when you do that, your message suddenly becomes memorable, it becomes engaging, and most importantly, it becomes persuasive. All right, so we get the why behind the problem. Now let's get into the how. We need a framework, a system that's designed to work with human psychology, not fight against it. So what exactly is data storytelling? It's not just one thing. It's this perfect intersection where four key elements come together. You need strong data, of course, but you also need clear visual design, a compelling narrative, and all of it has to be delivered in a specific context for your audience. You need all four of those working in harmony. And here is a really powerful way to structure all of that. It's called the influence framework. Think of it as your persuasion checklist. You've got I for intent alignment, knowing your audience. N for narrative arc, building a story. F for framing, using psychology. L for a clear logic chain. U for creating urgency. E for emotional resonance. Another N for next action clarity. What do you want them to do? And C for credibility. Now for today, we're going to zoom in on just three of these that can make an immediate difference. First up, intent alignment. This is so crucial. It basically means you stop giving a one-size-fits-all pitch. You have to tailor your story to who is in the room. A CFO is wired to care about ROI and risk. A chief marketing officer? They're thinking about market share and customer insights. You have to speak their language and connect your data to what they already lose sleep over. Next up, narrative arc. You know, our brains have been processing information through stories for thousands of years. We're literally hardwired for it. So don't just dump your findings. Structure them like a simple story. Here's the setup, the challenge we're facing. Here's the conflict, the data that reveals the core of the problem. And here's the resolution, our clear recommendation. It makes everything so much easier to follow and remember. And finally, one of my favorites, framing for biases. Behavioral science has proven over and over that we humans are not the rational creatures we think we are. We take mental shortcuts, biases, all the time. Now, instead of fighting that fact, smart communicators learn to work with these biases to make their message resonate more deeply.
Okay, let's make this really practical. I'm going to show you one specific and incredibly effective technique for putting this into action.
We're going to focus on a powerful cognitive bias called loss aversion. The science on this is absolutely clear.
We feel the pain of losing something about twice as strongly as we feel the pleasure of gaining the exact same thing. So the reframe is simple, but it is profound. Stop talking about what your audience stands to gain. Start emphasizing what they're about to lose if they don't act.
Just look at this example. On the left, the standard pitch. Implementing this will increase revenue by $2.3 million. Okay, sounds nice. Now look at the right. Not implementing this will cost us $2.3 million in lost revenue. Whoa, see the difference? The number is exactly the same, but the psychological impact is night and day. The first one is a nice to have. The second one feels like a direct threat, like money is draining out of our pockets right now. It creates urgency.
So let's bring all this home. It's so important to remember that the goal of a data presentation isn't just to inform people, it's to influence them, to make a better decision. And this quote just nails the key takeaway. In today's world, pretty much everyone has access to data. Your real competitive edge isn't going to come from having slightly better numbers. It's going to come from your ability to translate those numbers into a story that a real person can connect with, and most importantly, act on. And I want to be super clear on this point. This isn't about being manipulative or twisting data, not at all. Ethical data storytelling uses psychology to amplify and clarify the true message that's already in your data. It's about making the right path more obvious, not tricking people into taking it. As we wrap up here, I want to leave you with one final thought. A question to ask yourself before you build your next presentation. The neuroscience is settled. The brain's wiring isn't going to change. So the choice is really yours. Are you going to keep presenting dry, logical facts to an audience whose brains are fundamentally built to run on stories? Or are you ready to start mastering the psychology that turns your information into real, lasting influence?